Do they really need another day? What the hell is Juneteenth?
So Juneteenth has been a thing for years, decades, and nobody asked for it to be a holiday.
Removing Juneteenth from the list of city holidays and restoring Columbus Day, which I believe is a more appropriate holiday honoring our American heritage.
Juneteenth is, what's happening to the white people? They have a Black Miss America. They have a Black college. They have a Black month. What do we have? And now they have Juneteenth. Yes, I understand there was slavery, don't get me wrong. But there was also a Holocaust, and that was more recent than slavery. But you don't hear the Jews saying, gimme, 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 gimme. What's the point of Juneteenth? What is it? I don't know.
I'm clapping for all the normal people who don't need to gather in a special building every week and claim multiple national holidays just to celebrate their personal beliefs and what they've read in an ancient mythology book. I mean, the way you people just wake up every single day to obsess about the LGBTQ community and people of color is just so strange. Identity celebrations like Heritage Month or Pride Month exist because those communities historically had to fight for basic recognition. It's about survival and their progress. It's about struggles and civil rights movements and resilience from overcoming the abuses brought on by people like you. You seem to think that your own tradition should be the default of everyone without any justification, and everyone who does things outside of that is disruptive and unnecessary. And then you reduce it down to skin color and what people do behind closed doors. I mean, if everybody else can easily respect and accommodate recurring religious traditions, holidays, and weekly observances without any complaint, we can certainly extend the same respect to cultural and community celebrations that truly have nothing to do with you. It's not a cute look just to be bigoted and racist.
And the abolition of slavery, I believe, is one of the crowning achievements of Western civilization and certainly worthy of celebration.
My own view is that Juneteenth is something that nobody had heard of until 5 years ago and was pushed for political purposes. And so I'm not in favor of having that in.
Why are some people, like these white people here, bothered when others want to remember the hardships, the struggles, discrimination, and injustices they have gone through? I mean, why does, the act of remembrance seem to make some people uncomfortable? They look at it and see something boring, especially when that remembrance is connected to a painful chapter of history. I mean, that's the question we need to look at, we need to explore today. Because almost every year around the Juneteenth, we see, outrage, frustration and complaints from some people who seem to be like upset, that Black Americans have another day of recognition. But when you really stop and think about it, you can't figure out why this thing happened. Isn't it natural for people who have endured generations of suffering, generations of discrimination and oppression to want their story remembered? Isn't it normal? Isn't it okay? I mean, throughout history, societies have created memorials, holidays, commemorations for people who endured extraordinary hardships. But they survived. That's not a special treatment. That's how history is preserved. I don't think there's another way of preserving history than having such kinds of, ways. And yet some people, for some reasons, Juneteenth, continues to spark heated debates and strong emotions. So what's really going on here? Is this simply a disagreement about the holiday itself, or is just another type of racism? Or does it reveal something much deeper about race, about identity, about memory, and the way people understand American history? So stay with me until the end of this video, because this conversation is about, more than just one day of the calendar. Let's dive into this. If this is your first time, please subscribe to join the conversation. Otherwise, I'll see you at the end as we'll explore more why this day must be remembered no matter what, and why is the reason some people find it difficult to understand why this day is special to other people. Let's dive into this.
Hey, white people, happy Juneteenth. I know you weren't alive during slavery. I know you didn't own slaves. I know you didn't have anything to do with it. But you know it was wrong, so why do you have such a problem with it? Don't they already get a whole month? Do they really need another day? What the hell is Juneteenth? Listen, I used to be an ignorant asshole too. June 19th, 1865 is a very significant day in American history. Because technically, theoretically, on paper anyway, we were all supposed to be free Americans. Except for segregation, Jim Crow, the KKK, lynchings, the 13th Amendment, and other horrible, hateful shit white people did. I know you weren't alive back then, but white people enslaved Black, Chinese, Irish, Native Americans, and anybody else we could get our hands on. And I know you get upset when a black face tells you this country was built on slavery. This white face is going to tell you the same thing, because facts are way more important than your feelings. By the 1800s, cotton was the leading export of the United States. It was the backbone of global trade. It was the foundation of the Southern economy. It drove the Industrial Revolution, and it fueled growth of the worldwide textile industry. Remember, Berkshire Hathaway started off as a textile company, and the United States produced over 50% of the world's cotton supply. The U.S. was to cotton back then what the Middle East is to oil today. Are you following me? No, seriously, click that follow button. Do you know why the U.S. dominated the global cotton market? It's because we enslaved millions and millions of black Americans. We bought them, we bred them, we tortured them, then we worked them to death. And whether you want to admit it or not, America sold her soul for a low-cost labor force. Oh, wait. So how was America actually built on enslavement? Because the American government borrowed money from foreign banks and governments, which was collateralized by cotton, to fuel our economy and build our infrastructure. So my fellow white people, if slavery was abolished, you weren't alive, you didn't own any slaves, you think it's wrong, and you don't consider yourself a racist, then why in the hell would you have a problem with a federal holiday which acknowledges the 250,000 enslaved Americans in Texas who received word of their freedom on June 19th, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed? Why does that bother you? And like I always say, Black history is American history, not just in fucking February.
The mayor of Idaho City voted to remove Juneteenth from the holiday schedule and replaced it with Columbus Day to honor American heritage.
Removing Juneteenth from the list of city holidays and restoring Columbus Day, which I believe is a more appropriate holiday honoring our American heritage.
Juneteenth celebrates the actual end of slavery in the United States. And the abolition of slavery, I believe, is one of the crowning achievements of Western civilization and certainly worthy of celebration.
My own view is that Juneteenth is something that nobody had heard of until 5 years ago and was pushed for political purposes. And so I'm not in favor of having that in.
What's most annoying about this whole thing is that he himself, by all measures, wouldn't have even been considered American or white just recently. He's a great value brand, general American, German, Scandinavian mutt from the Midwest. His last name is Westland. That's a Scandinavian name, which means his people did not come over in the Mayflower. They didn't fight in the Revolution. They came through Ellis Island, broke, desperate, and fleeing a Europe that couldn't feed them. And when they arrived, they obviously fully weren't American. We know that there was a hierarchy of whiteness where Northwest Europeans were at the top, but they were still newcomers, still foreign, still learning English, still huddling in ethnic enclaves and ghettos trying to figure out how to belong. So how do we go from that to deciding what American heritage looks like? They assimilated, and I call it the Great Assimilation, where all these white people from around the world come to America and become white. Juneteenth is the most authentically American holiday we have. It marks the moment in this country was forced to confront the distance between what it claimed to be and what it actually was. It belongs to Black Americans, our ancestors who were here working, building, bleeding before any Scandinavian set foot on this continent. The people with the deepest claim to American heritage are indigenous people and Black Americans. Full stop. Not a man whose family fled poverty, Scandinavia and Germany, and got laundered through Ellis Island, forgot where they came from, and then decided to gatekeep history that was never theirs to begin with. Columbus Day wasn't even a real American tradition. It was invented by Italian Americans in the early 20th century, people who also were not considered fully white, as a bid for belonging. It was an assimilation tool, a way to say, we matter too. This was all a byproduct of the myth of whiteness in America, created in a way that white people could assimilate to one identity. And that assimilation of whiteness had a price, and they all paid it. They stopped talking about being poor and desperate and unwanted. You give up the part where your grandfather anglicized his last name so it sounded less foreign. In exchange, you get to be an American, the default, the standard. But as we all know, whiteness isn't real. Whiteness isn't an ethnicity. It's not a culture. It's not a heritage. There's no food, no music, no language, no spiritual tradition that belongs to whiteness. Nobody's grandfather came from the old country speaking white. White is a legal and political construct. It was invented deliberately to create a buffer class between ruling elite and enslaved Black people. If poor Europeans could be convinced they had more in common with wealthy white landowners than Black laborers, they'd never organize together. And we all know poor white people were used as a tool to keep Black people oppressed in this country. W.B. Du Bois called it the wage of whiteness, meaning you might not have money or power, but at least you weren't Black. You were not at the bottom. And that was enough to buy loyalty. So the Scandinavians and the Germans and the Italians and the Irish people who came here from completely different and distinct cultures with their own languages, their own history, their own traditions, they all eventually dissolved into one identity, white American. And everything they gave up to get there is gone, replaced by a mythology, Pilgrims, Founding Fathers, Columbus, a story that wasn't even theirs, but that they adopted because it came with a membership card. America has never fully accepted that black people are free and Americans, especially the Confederacy. And the reality is that regression we're witnessing in this country, where they're legally rolling back civil rights and protections under the law, and white people are singing the woe is me story, is all because whiteness as an identity can only successfully exist if it's superior to blackness. And that's being threatened. Stay black, stay blessed.
Hey, so Juneteenth is coming up on Friday. It hasn't been around that long. We haven't had this holiday this will be the 5th year. So I think there's still some confusion about why we have it, and I wanted to clear some things up from my perspective. So, Juneteenth commemorates the day when the last group of enslaved black people down in Galveston, Texas, caught word that actually slavery was, banned and made illegal, except not really, but that's a different story. And so they were finally free, and it took all that time for word to get to everybody. So Juneteenth has been a thing for years, decades, and nobody asked for it to be a holiday. Certainly Black Americans did not ask for it to be a holiday. What Black Americans want, from everything I hear, observe, and am told, is for the systemic racism and white supremacy in our country to go away. A holiday, an additional federal holiday, is a performative effort to give them something. I imagine somewhere somebody's saying that we got to give them something. We're never going to do reparations, so let's give them a day off. Okay, aside from the fact that I'm sure many people still have to work. That is not what anybody has been asking for. No one is looking for that. But, oh wait, do white people benefit from having another federal holiday? Oh, that's right. So it's a win-win. We get to look like the good guys, and everybody gets a day off in the summer. Don't we love it? Okay. Yeah. So yes, commemorate Juneteenth. It is a great day of celebration. I don't know that we needed the federal holiday, but maybe this is a reminder that we need to be working hard towards dismantling our own white supremacy, us white people in the United States, and going ahead and trying to break down the systemic racism that still exists in our country.
People during Cinco de Mayo was like, wait till Juneteenth, because black people was doing lighthearted stuff like, AI, the sombrero and stuff. I just want to let y'all know that Juneteenth is a Black American holiday. So if you want to dress up and like imitate Black Americans, remember, Black American, you're not going to be putting on dashiki. But another thing I want to say was, you already imitate Black American culture so much that you don't really have to try hard, because everything's in your closet already imitating Black American culture, from your shoes, the way you dress, the music you listen to, the words you use. You don't really have to do much besides maybe find a name. You know how, wait till I'm gonna be Daquan. Yeah. Besides find a name, you already imitate Black American culture so much that you don't really have to try hard. So just don't forget that Juneteenth is celebrating Black Americans and the end shadow slavery, the ending of all that in Texas, and not even just Texas, but all over. So I guess on Juneteenth you can imitate a little harder. I don't really know what you're gonna do, but just want to give you a heads up. The dashikis is not gonna cut it. Okay. Mwah.
Juneteenth is coming up, which is a federal holiday. Racist Asians, you're not taking the day off, right? You're gonna clock into work. You're going to work, right? Surely you are, because surely, right? Same goes for all the other races, but I'm just targeting Asians because I'm Asian. Or am I not Asian because I'm too dark? Let me know. Since you guys know every fucking thing, let me know. So excited for you to clock into work on Juneteenth. June 19th, okay? Just making sure you know which date.
Juneteenth is coming up, but there's a big problem because most people think Juneteenth colors are red, black, and green. But that's not Juneteenth. That's Pan-African. And I know this might sound wild, but stay with me because by the end of this, you're going to look at Juneteenth completely different. Juneteenth is not an African holiday. It is an American holiday. It is the day that enslaved people in Galveston, Texas found out they were free right here on this soil in this country. And Juneteenth became an official United States federal holiday in June of 2021. So Juneteenth actually has its own flag, and most people have never seen it. It's red, white, and blue with a star in the center and a burst around it. The star has a dual meaning. One, it represents Texas, the Lone Star State, and it also represents the freedom of foundational Black Americans across all 50 states. And the burst around it represents a new beginning, the birth of a new day, and a fresh start for newly freed people. The same colors as the American flag, because the message is clear. Our freedom is American history, not borrowed from somewhere else. A foundational Black American who is a community organizer and activist named Ben Haith designed the flag in 1997 because he believed that Juneteenth deserved a symbol that told the truth about what the holiday actually is. This Juneteenth, don't let corporate America tell you how to represent our foundational Black American holiday. And let me know in the comments, did you know this already?
Brothers and sisters, when we are talking about Juneteenth, we are not talking about a random holiday that appeared out of nowhere. No, we are talking about a day that reminds people of a painful chapter in American history. And remember, there is no way we can talk about American history excluding Black people, excluding Black history. There is no way that can be possible. Now, we are talking about a chapter that millions of Black people and their descendants are still connected today. And this is why I sometimes find it strange and shocking when people become upset about Juneteenth. Because what exactly are we celebrated, if we may ask that question in the first place? Is it superiority? Is it a special treatment? I guess no. It's just a recognition. It's a simple recognition of struggle, recognition of suffering. That's all. Just the recognition of people who endured some of the most difficult conditions imaginable and still managed to, to survive. Now, think about this one in this way. In life, recognition usually follows sacrifice. It follows, effort. It follows a hardship or some sort of achievement. For example, let's take a practical example that we can all understand. We all went to school. We all know how school goes. If a student spends years studying, working, reading, and you know what it means as a student, overcoming challenges, we're talking of examinations or whatever in a school environment. Society recognizes that journey with certificates, with diplomas and degrees. Not because that person is better than everyone else, no, but because their journey deserves, some sort of acknowledgement, right? If you've gone so far with your school, to maybe to university, you'll be awarded accordingly. You'll be given PhD, you'll be given a degree or master's degree. But if you have not made it that far, okay, how would you expect to be recognized with a degree? At least a certificate will do, because it's how far you've gone. I hope you get what I mean. Now, in the same way, communities that have experienced the extraordinary hardship are often remembered through memorials, through remembrance days, museums, and historical observances. I hope you get my point. It's just that simple. It's not favoritism. It's how society preserves history almost everywhere in the world. Every country in the world has a special day, two or more, where they remember something that happened or somebody who did something in the past. That's all. So Juneteenth is important because it marks the moment when freedom finally reached the thousands of enslaved people who had been denied it for They have been denied it for generations. It represents the closing of one chapter and the beginning of just another chapter. It reminds people of what happened in the past, and it reminds, future generations of what should never happen again. It's that simple. Now, some people ask, why Black Americans have special days, months, commemorations? Why is that so? Okay, but I think That shouldn't be the way people should ask. Perhaps the better question should be, why would anyone be bothered? Why, other people are getting, recognized? Okay, why would anyone be bothered by people remembering, what they have gone through? Recognition is not something which is like taken from somebody else and give it to somebody else. When we are talking about remembering Black history, remembering this Juneteenth, we're not taking this day, like we're not erasing somebody's history and replacing it with what Black people went through. We're not. Recognition is not a limited resource. It's not. One group's remembrance does not erase another group's history. It's that simple. One group's celebration does not diminish another person's identity. That's it. Okay? In fact, mature society should be, capable of recognizing many different histories at the same time. The more you have, days of remembering something, it means that's how we establish that thing. It means it's coming from far. Okay? It has not just started from today. What do I mean? The more birthdays you have enjoyed, it means the more years you've spent on earth. It's that simple. Because history is not a competition. Suffering is not something we can compete. It's not competition. Recognition is not competition. The purpose of remembrance is not to divide people. It is to educate people. It is to help people understand where a nation has been and where it hopes to be. Like I said, just to remember, just to remind the future generations of what should never happen again. And whether someone personally celebrates Juneteenth or they do not, the historical significance of the day remains, okay? It is part of American history. It is part of Black American history. And the understanding, it helps to understand this, it helps us, better understand the country itself, the history of the country in general. But what do you think about this, brothers and sisters? Do you believe like this day, Juneteenth, is an important recognition of history, or do you see it differently, or it was just like it's just overrated? How do you look at it? Share your thoughts respectively in the comment section. Remember, there are people who would support this, there are people who would not support this. So I respect all the comments. So down there, let's discuss. How do you look at this? If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and join us for more thoughtful discussions on history, culture, identity, and issues shaping our world today. Until next time, stay informed, stay thoughtful, and stay blessed. I really love that you came to watch this video. How do you look at Juneteenth? How have you prepared for this? See you next time.